Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught! Jelani Woods! Touchdown! INDY!
Yes. 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, everybody, welcome aboard. Thank you so much for being with us as always here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you, and grateful to be along as always. Don't forget, as we get through the day, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymoorehonda.com to get more to your door and the best in new and used vehicles. Just reach out to, just go to andymoorehonda.com and get that done. Thanks a lot for being with us. Another big day. Good to be back. We were off yesterday. On board today, we're expecting Charlie Miller to join us, Dylan Sinn, Kyle Neddenriep, and Rick Bozich. Plenty to talk about. The Peach Jam, the TBT final roster, Indiana baseball draftees, the All-Star game last night. National anthem went off without a hitch. Purdue and Auburn will be playing hoops. So plenty to talk about. John Boy, we were talking in the break about the national anthem for the home run derby that I did not see. I've not seen it. I know about it. I know about the fallout, but I have not seen how bad it was yet. So, but John, you saw it. Tell me about the rendition of that.
Yeah, so this was country artist or singer-songwriter. She may not be exclusively country, but her name was Ingrid Andress, and she put together one of probably the most, I hate to say it, embarrassing national anthem performances for the home run derby a couple of days ago.
Worse than Roseanne Barr's?
Yeah, so the difference with that, Roseanne Barr's, if you've ever heard, I know you have, Jim, that almost seemed like it was intentionally bad, where she's just kind of belting into
why she was ever gotten to do that is beyond me. I mean,
yeah,
what are you doing?
But Ingrid Andress, she, and for those of you who may or may not have seen it, I believe it was yesterday, she confessed to being intoxicated. And if you go back and listen to it after finding out that she was supposedly hammered in some way, shape, or form, it's definitely noticeable whenever you just listen to. I mean, again, if you listen to her actual singing voice, any of her actual songs, she has a really good voice. So there's no excuse why she shouldn't be able to perform the national anthem correctly. And after what she did the other night, and realizing she was drunk and checked into a rehab facility the next day, it's not a good look. And, you know, I hate it for somebody who may be dealing with something like that. Now, on the other hand, I did talk about this with somebody the other day. If all of this is like a publicity stunt, which I don't really want to assume that it is, I think that makes it that much worse. To make it kind of create this narrative that maybe she is something that she isn't, being an alcoholic, and then maybe trying to create this recovery story. So I don't want to dig too far into the weeds with that specifically, but overall, it was definitely the cringiest national anthem for a sporting event that I've seen on television since Fergie's for the NBA All-Star game.
Who was the sprinter? Man, I am drawing a blank on his name right now, but he was one of the fastest guys, track runner, a sprinter from back in the day. He belted one out that was very, very bad as well. I can't think of his name.
I don't recall.
They'll hit us up on the they'll hit us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline in a second with that answer. But all you have to do is Google bad national anthems, and I promise you he'll pop up there. Man, I believe I can't think of his name right now. But Mike is hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline, says that Roseanne Barr has spoke out and says she still holds the worst record for the worst run. Not something to be proud of. Carl Lewis, thank you, Ross. Carl Lewis, yes, that was not good. Not good either. Look that one up sometime, John Boy.
I've heard someone played the intro for Carl Lewis's form the other day. He's just holding a note for a super long time. I've heard I heard the end of that one is
well. Then he lost the ability to hold any notes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just there's few songs, and I get people trying to make songs kind of their own and not sound the exact same, but that's just a song that there's not a lot that you do with. There's not a lot of leeway. You don't have parameters that you can really go outside of on this. I mean, just singing it gracefully, like everyone kind of compares it back to Whitney Houston's rendition after I think it came shortly after 9/11 coincidentally, but I think it was for the Super Bowl and just considered one of the best ever. And then you do have the cool one that's with the electric guitar only. That's not bad. They use that in the Billy Bean Moneyball movie. So, but yeah, there's just some you just don't mess with. But I don't have to worry about it because as much as people make fun of me singing, I don't think that I can sing. People don't think that I do, and that's not one you'll ever find me trying to take on. I assure you. So you got that. The Peach Jam going on now. Last week we had the Adidas 3 SSB. This week the Peach Jam is well underway down in North Augusta. So that going on. The TBT has finalized their roster, and they'll get playing at the end of this week, as a matter of fact. So Assembly Ball, the team that Indiana has assembled to participate, has finalized their roster. Of course, Devontae Green, Race Thompson, Miller Kopp, Jordan Halls, Yogi Farrell, Troy Williams, Jawan Morgan, Noah Vonleh, Rion Brown, and Julian Gamble, who both played at Miami. Dakota Quinn, who played at Stanford. Tyrell Terry, who played at Stanford. Keith Hornsby, Bruce's brother, played UNC Asheville and at LSU. And Christian Doolittle, who played at Oklahoma. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 guys that are not from Indiana. I don't necessarily understand all that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 that are. So 14-man roster. That's plenty of players for certain, but 8 Indiana guys. The rest, not sure their affiliation, probably just friends, whatever. But Herbal says that Jim one day missed it. Where did it go? How the heck did I miss that? Oh, I overrolled it. But I missed that comment from that was just up. Charlie Miller joining us. I guess we'll take a quick break or take Charlie in. Charlie, how are you, my man? We've had some miscommunications over the last couple of days, probably on my part.
Here, let's take a break while he gets. Sounds like he's getting some audio stuff. Chat. We can go ahead and take our first break here if we need to.
Perfect. We've got a lineup set up for you today, as always. Charlie Miller up next here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Back with that and more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
And I'll message Dylan, and if he's able to come on today, which I haven't heard from him, I'll push him back a segment. All right, Charlie, you got us?
Yes, sir. How you guys doing?
Perfect.
Great, brother. How are you?
Excellent, man. Excellent.
Breakthrough.
That's right. First day of Cola camp. was yesterday. My apologies. I thought I didn't realize you were not having the show yesterday. So
that's my fault. I would have communicated it with you if I'd have known, or if I'd have known you were coming on.
It's my fault too. I didn't realize that. Didn't realize that yesterday was the day that we rescheduled the second one for. But
all good. No. We actually did it for the 12th, July 12th.
Well, I knew that, and then we missed that by accident, and I was like, wait a minute. When Charlie's supposed to be on?
Yeah, that's on me. I'm gonna take accountability too. So
are you playing Valpo tonight, or not tonight, but the
Friday, I
guess. TBT.
The TMT. Yeah, TBT.
Well, they played at night. I thought it was the 19th.
I'd say it's what I said.
Okay.
Not tonight. I started to say that, but I recovered.
Have we played the first game yet?
Say it again.
No, they won't. Their first game is this weekend. Is the one against Valpo.
Okay, it's Valpo. Okay.
If you're hearing music, I'm just trying to get the bump where it needs to be. There we go. Yeah, so I told Dylan to move him to 9:10 if I still don't know if he's even back from his honeymoon, to be honest. I'm just assuming he's back by now.
What's new, brother? How was Indy?
I haven't been to Indy yet.
I was gonna say, when is that?
Oh, that's coming up. That's this Tuesday. I'll be in Indy this Tuesday.
All right, here we go, guys. 10 seconds.
Okay.
Perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Jim Coyle with you as always. Thank you so much for traveling along. Joined now by our good friend Charlie Miller, former Herzer and leader of Attack Basketball. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. I know right now my voice is a little groggy. I had my first day of camp in Kohler, Wisconsin, a surprising nice town. I don't say that with slight. I was just thrown off on the small highway, and then you go to this nice town, and you're like, well, where am I? So we have 80 players at Kohler public schools, and it was day one was awesome. Day two is coming up. So luckily we're an hour difference as far as where I'm at, so I'm able to hop on for a segment and then get ready to go back to camp coming soon.
Yeah, it keeps you busy, man, but this is keeping you
That's
hopping, which is a great thing. You know, keeps you young and keeps you in the game. When you're going through these, do you still get to extend the legs a little bit?
Man, you said it. And you know what? One great thing about it, I'm still active. You know, it's like I'm an active coach, and that's one thing that's probably holding me back from that next level jump to coaching in college or high school as a head coach. I'm just not ready to grow a belly and just sit back and tell people what to do. I'm just being honest with you, man. I'm not. I'm on the court. I think it's hands-on experience, getting players to see you live doing things, and then it's easier to become credible. You don't have to go into yelling and screaming because they're seeing you doing it right-handed, left-handed. Then if they try it, they can get it. But just like Coach Knight would always tell us, it's just thinking. You gotta learn how to think. You gotta learn how to think on your feet, and that's all it's about, man.
Yeah, and so would you see coaching as not that you wouldn't be able to be as active as you'd like to be, or is that just something, a perception?
Well, it's a perception right now, because I know, following, now as a coach, kind of as a player, I think you start growing in areas you don't realize you really need to grow into emotionally, mentally. I think I learned that at IU as a player. My sophomore year, I really understood the value of studying your opponents, playing with strategy. Every possession matters. I mean, the basketball before that was more, I just want to play, have fun, be seen. The game changed mentally. The game that Coach Knight really taught was a mental thinking game. As he always say, mental is the physical is 4-1. And I firmly live that life every day. Now, my perception is, like Coach Knight, he was active at West Point. He was active his early days with Quinn Buckner. He was on the court. So it's one thing to say he was on the court until he couldn't do it anymore. But then at that point, you got so much respect, to be real with you, that now your word is credible. It's concrete. And because you've won, and now players want to come, and you're beyond the motivation point. You don't have to get the buy-in, because the banner speaks for itself. The winning speaks for itself. Your life after college speaks for itself.
Yeah, I've got a story I've told many times that from a long, long time ago that I am fairly positive that to be true. And I just need to get Pat to, I can't remember if he's confirmed it or not, Pat Graham, but
yeah,
I remember being told at one time that Pat somehow got Knight into a free throw shooting contest, and Knight won. And Pat was like, whoa, wait a minute. And
right.
Knight's walking off. He goes, no, we got to do this. He goes, nope. He said, sometimes you just get one opportunity in life.
That's right.
Walking.
And that's what you just said is what I'm after. That one opportunity you get, that preparation meets opportunity, opportunity meets preparation. That's what you're prepping for. You never know that opportunity. That's why you have to show up, show out, have an attitude of gratitude. And to me, again, going back, it's all mental. It's waking up on the sunny side of the day, man. It's all mental. It's the approach.
That's certainly a great way to live and a great way to start your day, no matter if you're talking athletics or not.
It doesn't matter. Exactly. It does not matter. Because, again, at the end of the day, we're all trying to figure out our next move, our next minute. Because we can't control what we don't know. But it's how you respond. And to me, that's just that day by day living that way. Always open, being a flexible thinker, and encouraged no matter what, to what comes your way.
And speaking of which, something's going to happen. You're going to get to come back to Indiana next week. Something that doesn't happen very often, man.
Yeah. I'll be in Fishers July 23rd through the 25th. Very own attack and counter basketball camp, a camp that I write the curriculum for. Very excited to come back to Fishers. I have had a camp in Indiana, I know it within 5 or 6 years. So I'm very happy for that. So I'm hoping that, with this opportunity to promote the camp, we get 7 more people showing up that followed me as a player, and the same tenacity, the same love and respect is there as a coach. To coach your little player. So 7th through 12th grade players are welcome to the camp. But we have the banner. We can put it up. That'd be great. No big deal. I can send a link. But, yeah, I look forward to coming back next week.
What is the link again?
So what I'll do is I'll put it out there. Let me send it to real time.
Looking forward to for interview that
it's on I got on the bottom of the screen here.
There you go. It's on the bottom.
Yeah,
but
appreciate
the availability is still there for kids if they want to go through it. I'm sure it's
yes.
What are the age limits? What are the ages? And I'm sure it's boys and girls, right?
Yeah, boys and girls, 7th grade through 12th grade, criteria. You're a serious player looking to understand today's game, which is, to me, footwork, body positioning, and mentality, playing the game from the ground up. A lot of principles I've learned from Coach Knight and other people that's influenced my game in my life, mentors and coaches that have coached all the players that you can name, Kobe Bryant, even spent time with Michael Jordan, Ray Allen's, Steph Curry's, all these people that had a great influence on me. I'm just a ball of them. And now presenting it through this camp, that I'm so grateful to able to write and lead for the last 6+ years of my life.
Catherine says hello. Awesome to see Charlie, one of her faves. So always good
I appreciate
to
you.
make that happen. And
Yes.
make sure you just go to Breakthrough basketball camps. And I promise you that's all you'll need to find it. But and the one in Indianapolis at Fisher's, you can find that information and sign up and get your kid in there. And also an opportunity to learn from one of the best, one that learned from one of the best. You can always tell. I can tell either talking to you or talking to Todd Leary or whatever. It's the same thing that is. It's like each one of you have your own degree from
Right.
the same school, from the same professor, and it is just like that. It is just like a curriculum.
Yes.
That everybody went through,
Yeah.
right down to everyone having their notebooks.
That's right. And let me tell you something that really stuck out. And I wish I could say it the way he said it, because this is the lesson I believe I came to IU to get from Coach Knight beyond basketball. And this is the God's honest truth. I wish I could say it the exact way he said it, but I'm going to be very careful here. It was one random day, my senior year. I was in the locker room by myself. He's walking in the locker room from the gym, going through to Todd, Tim Gar's office, when the old style locker room. And he stopped for some reason and said, "Charlie, if you ever want to effing learn how to do anything in life, you got to effing learn how to teach it." And he pointed at me and he walked off. I was all of 20 when he said that. I still remember how he said it, when he said it. That is what you just talked about with Todd Leary, the Pat Grahams, the Pat Knights, his son. That pedigree of now preparing to think before you do things, but not being so cerebral. Just thinking and knowing that you're prepared, having the confidence and the will to win, have advantages now in life, advantages to win. That's what it's about. And that, to me, what it was all about at the end of the day, and what he was after. Think. He would always point to me when I make mistakes and do this. Think. I get it now. 47, I get it. I get the push. I get the tenacity he had. I get the passion he taught with. I get the boldness he always had too. He just wanted you to think in action, which is confidence.
How hard first of all, how hard was it then to do that with 18, 19-year-old kids?
Oh,
and
come on.
I hate to call them kids, but let's be
No.
real. I was a freaking kid until I'm still a kid probably, but 19-year-old kids, think of all the information that we've all been given, the leadership that we were all given that just didn't sink in. It wouldn't sink in, couldn't sink in for some reason. But years later, kind of hits you.
Well, I tell you what, I don't think it's supposed to sink in. Very few, a small percentage, it will sink in. So I think it comes down to beliefs, how you were brought up, your motivations. Why are you playing? Why do you want to play basketball? But again, the seeds were planted and watered. And sometimes it was on rough grounds with Coach Knight. It was rough grounds. It was some things that you saw and heard and witnessed that you were like, is that real? Can you do that? But yet, it all worked itself out. It all worked itself out. And whether you hate him or love him, which I don't think he was after, I think he just wanted you to become an independent thinker, a flexible thinker, a worker, knowing that anything that you ever want to do, you have to actually focus and concentrate like nobody's business and work at it. And just that's what it was more about, learning how to limit and reduce distractions. That's what preparation's for. And that's what, to me, the camp life is about. In 3 days, how can I teach your son or daughters really what this thing's called life is about? Routines. Routines are systems. Systems are always designed to create predictable results. You said it. Us carrying a notebook at 17, 18, 19, 20, a notebook, that's unheard of in basketball. So now with that, here's the way I like to approach it. When you think it, you must ink it. Ink is in the word think. You got to write it down. That's what Coach Knight wanted. Just stop trying to keep all these things in your mind. Write it down, study, and go out there and take that test. And you get one time to knock it out.
Do you have your campers take notes?
I do. What I encourage them, what I do is I bring 3x5 cards, index cards, because again, you got 6 hours. I'm teaching so many things in 6 hours, even though I don't want it to become daunting, but I'm telling them more than anything, it's really one or two things you need to focus on as a theme. You want to get better at confidence. It's not confidence you need courage. You got to do things in action. You got to learn to become more resilient. You got to understand the definition of mentality, which is just think, then act. That's all it is. Keep things simple, but I'm not going to dumb it down because you don't know these things. But I want to overwhelm you because that's what it can seem like when you have false confidence. So 3x5 it. I always keep 3x5s. I tell them go to their phones when their water break. Write down one or two things. Because you can't keep all this. That's the struggle you have now. To me, with how basketball is being played now, I'm not going to beat up the AAU system. I'm not going to do that because I went through that system. It's just different. It's just now I believe we have traded games for practices, and we have this falsehood of these games are going to help me get better. But you always get better at practice because you can always stop and correct. That's what coaching really means. Stop, you correct, you put you in position to succeed. Not using the game as a gauge, that's too late. You play games to win.
What was it that pushed you into this is what you wanted to do?
It was an inspiration from a former basketball manager at IU, Joe Abunasar. Joe was a basketball manager that coached at University of Wyoming, and probably had a couple other stops, but he was actually with Joe B. Wright when you at University of Wyoming as an assistant. And then Joe moved into the player development realm. And this was unheard of in the early 90s, where you now take an individual and you work on their basketball game outside of their team structure. And Joe actually took the likes of, through an agent, he took Chauncey Billups, Kevin Garnett, Tyronn Lue, Michael Ruffin. Michael Ruffin, the name you may not know, he played for the Bulls for several years, played in Nebraska as well. But he took those guys and he made them pros, not only with what he did on the court basketball-wise, but also mental training, emotional training, physical training. And that was my inspiration. I was like, man, what? Like, you can do this as a living? And that I was just always locked in on that. I had an opportunity to work out with Joe. Joe actually had me an opportunity to play in Portugal. I played 3-on-3 with Chauncey, Tyronn, and a couple of the guys the agent wanted to come see me play. And that's how I got a job. And I said, you know what? When I'm done playing, I'm going to take this niche path. I've always kind of been that maverick. You know, I'm not going to take that traditional path, man. I'm going to take this unbeaten path, this unknown path of being a player development coach. I'm not going to force it, but I'm going to trust God. And 14 plus years later, here's that path.
Yeah, it's not an easy thing to do, but you've kind of found a unique way of doing it as well.
Yeah.
It's not like this is kind of different. The Attack Basketball Academy is one that is an academy that kind of moves around. There are academies, obviously, where people go to. As a matter of fact, Trent Sisley, one of Indiana's major targets, played for a small high school, Southern Indiana high school. In his senior year, he's transferring to Montverde Academy, a big time step up. But I think that is going to be good for him, good for his development, good for his game. And a lot of people, you know, we all hate to see it because it takes him out of being an Indiana kid as far as being eligible for All-Stars and Mr. Basketball and that kind of thing. But he's looking at it for his future. And there are people that agree with it, people that disagree with it, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what anybody thinks. It's their life.
Well, and again, it's what I was told from a mentor. Those people that don't like it are like the most smartest, ignorant people ever. If I can give you an oxymoron, because yes, you have a common sense, but you have an uncommon sense to what Mount Verde is going to do for that young man. That young man is on his way to do some things way beyond IU. And that's what Mount Verde is going to provide, the resources that the high schools can't do. If it's only one Jim Coyle coming through every 2 or 3 years at a high school, as far as, a top player, the tradition of the high school, Indiana All-Star, what it means, all that stuff is there. But now the exposure, the reps that he's going to get in practice from coaches that are talking with more experience than I'm talking about, like right here. Like they're going to prepare that guy, for beyond basketball. And again, what I'm realizing, Jim, you can be all you want to be as long as you learn how to limit your distractions, man. That's what it's about. That's why you got to sometimes go away. Go to Florida. It's not going to be bed and breakfast. It's going to be work. He's going to have to show up and show out every day. Competition is going to be high because he's going to have people that's there for a reason, trying to get to the pro level, trying to get to whatever. Even the coaches are trying to get promoted. No one's trying to stay in Mount Verde. I mean, it's all upward. It's all stepping stone. And some people may not like that. But you know what? I don't think it's ever been about tradition. I don't think it's ever been about that. I think it's about winning ways and winning attributes that you can contribute to and that you can continue to have. Like the Mike Woodsons. Mike Woodson went away from 30 years from the college game and never coached in college. But yet he's back at IU now, finding his groove, rubber meets the road, helping players exceed. Khalil Ware, look what Trace did, right? And it's sometimes going to be spotty. Is that the overarching goal of the NBA? I don't know. I think it's becoming a professional person. As I always say, before you become an elite player, become a complete person. And I think that's what IU taught me. That's what Coach Knight taught me. That's what you have taught me, this opportunity. It's being complete, man. Being complete. Just always looking to help people and be available yourself, not all distracted.
You should add life coach to your circuit, man. You should start building in speeches to give speeches in the evenings of your camps of life building speeches on top of what you're doing.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something that you don't know. That's a part of the camp structure. It is a part. It's beyond the basketball, but I've learned in a succinct way how to reach beyond basketball. I do an overnight camp with Breakthrough Basketball. And the overnight camp, we have 8 hours of life skills, what we're talking about right here, this stuff. That stuff on the court, that's the surface game. We're talking about beneath the surface. That deep level game you have to win. That battle from within. That's the battle I'm talking about. Before you master one-on-one, master one-on-none yourself. Get yourself up. Don't rely on me being your cheerleader, your inspirational leader. That's too late. I'm not here for that. I tell people I'm friendly, but I'm not your friend. I'm here to push you to your greatness. That's what it's about.
Go to Breakthrough. Was it Breakthrough Camps?
Yeah, breakthroughbasketball.com.
Breakthroughbasketball.com. And I know that the link is up on the screen for those that are following on YouTube, but those that are listening, just go to Breakthrough Basketball Camps and you'll find one for Indianapolis that's in Fishers. Right. Charlie is going to be teaching that, which is not something that we get here in Indiana all that often. But and if you've got there he comes on. We always love to have you on, man, and look forward to doing it again anytime. And look forward to seeing you next week when you're in town.
Yeah. Yes, we're going to definitely get together. I know I definitely want to do this same thing if we have the opportunity next week. I want to get back on no matter what and just share day one update, day two, whatever it might be, and just chime in. I love to always be a part of the comments from people and just being connected back to the IU connection and staying relevant. Someone said that to me yesterday, like, man, it's so cool to see that you're still relevant. And it's not me. I think it's what's inside you. It's the essence of you, right? And still having, at the grace of God, still looking like I'm still 18. So that's, I drink with the best of them. I hang out with the best of them. But yeah, I just try to look out and do the best things I can do for myself. And so I look forward to seeing you next week, man.
We love you, brother. We appreciate you. Look forward to it. Can't wait. And
Awesome.
Have a great rest of your week.
All right. Hey, thank you. And always, I appreciate you, John. Appreciate you, Jim. And the Indiana Sports Beat Nation, thank you, family. I appreciate all the comments on the side. So thank you.
And we appreciate you and love you, brother. We got lots more coming up. Dylan Sinn joins us next, brought to you by Attack Basketball Academy. Don't forget, go to Breakthrough Basketball Camps and sign up for the one coming up in Fishers next week. Back right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're looking for
Awesome.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you.
No, this is great time, and I'm glad I was able to do this here at the hotel so now I can leave and get to the gym because the gym is like 12 minutes away. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
All right.
Look forward
You guys
to
have a
it.
good one.
Thank you, seeing you.
All right. Hey,
Thank
Dylan,
you,
how you
man.
doing, man? I'm Charlie Miller, Dylan.
Hey, Charlie, how are you?
Doing well, man. You have a great day.
All right, you as well. Thank you.
All right, fellas. Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Oh.
See, look at you getting you didn't even expect that, did you?
He also didn't expect us to be forgetting that he was on his honeymoon last week, and we did that too.
Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to keep up with everybody's schedule.
I know. Hopefully you had your phone on airplane mode or whatever, and you didn't see our annoying texts and emails forgetting that you were out of town.
I am so sorry. I saw the tweet that said I was going to be on, and I didn't really have a way to contact you guys because I couldn't send actual text messages.
Oh, that makes sense.
I can only text iPhones, unfortunately.
We figured it out eventually. We were like,
You should have just
"He's on
sent a
his honeymoon."
picture wearing a kilt and doing a little jig, dancing on a rock or something.
Oh man, yeah.
No, you don't
I'm
need
sorry
to
for that.
apologize. No. You don't need to apologize. I should have remembered. I usually am on top of that kind of stuff. I just wasn't thinking about it last week.
Well, really quick. Wait a minute. I thought, John, that last week was your last week. No.
This is my last week. This
is your last week. Okay. All right. Well,
Don't quit reminding me.
what is next for you, man? Do you have any idea?
I can't really talk about it on here, but
Okay.
It's good stuff.
He's
Good.
going
All
to a
right.
competitor.
Okay. Gonna make Jim wish that he had bumped up your salary, huh?
I don't think that's really it, but
Opportunity for our boy. Yes,
all right.
Forrest Charlie is a class act. Brian thinks you can rock a kilt.
All right, here we go, guys.
Selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Thank you, as always, for being along for the ride. We appreciate you. Brought to you by Freethink Apparel Promotions, and they meet your printing needs no matter what your needs are. Their team of industry experts work with you to design professional-looking, sales-generating web store for your custom-designed apparel and promotional merchandise. Whether it's a large corporation, small business, high school sports team, or national account, Freethink Apparel delivers no matter where you are. Just visit freethinkapparel.com today and get printing. Dylan Sinn back, fresh off of his honeymoon in Scotland. How was it, man?
It was great. It was great. We had a lot of fun. We saw basically the entire country, the cities, and the Highlands. So that was a blast. I got stranded on the Isle of Skye, which was also a lot of fun.
How does one get stranded? Did the boat leave and not come back?
No, we took a private tour in a car, and the tour car broke down 3 hours from home. So we had to get.
Well, how did the car get to the island?
Well, it's an isle. There's like a road from the mainland to the yeah. Gotcha. So it's not a full island, but it's a very odd situation that happened. But we had a lot of fun. So
what does one do when they are stranded on an island in Scotland?
Well, that's basically our tour guide, who was a very nice man, did not know what to do. And so he called a mechanic. The mechanic came out and said, "Yep, that's broken," but didn't have a tow truck with him. And then he called a friend of his who lives in the area and said, "Can I please borrow your car? I have two people who are on their honeymoon."
Nice.
Here.
Well, nice. So now we're going from the Scottish version of Uber to somebody borrowing someone's car.
Yes. He's like, "I have two people here who are on their honeymoon and they are 3 hours from their hotel. Can I borrow your car to get them home?" And these very nice people were like, "Sure." So we drove home at 10 o'clock at night in this borrowed car. And
what kind of cars do they have in Scotland, first of all?
There's so basically what it is a lot of them are like Mercedes and BMW, but like less nice versions than the ones we have here. Like in the United States, if you have a Mercedes or a BMW, that's a nice car, right? In Scotland or the UK or other places in Europe, those are just kind of like decent cars. Yeah, essentially, yes, right. Like they're less nice versions of the cars that we have for the most part. And so this wasn't one of those. It was actually a Scottish company that I don't know the name of off the top of my head, but that's generally speaking the cars that they have. Nice.
Yes. So you had that going for you, which was nice.
It was nice. That's right. But it was an adventure. We had fun, you know. And
it sounds like that.
Yeah. So the trip in general was great. We had a blast, and I'm very sorry that I missed last week, but I'm glad to be back.
Oh, hey, no, it's we wouldn't have these stories without that. Are you kidding me? Anything else big funny happen? There's always goofy. I mean, that's that's a pretty good one there, but there's always good stories that you don't expect, especially when you are in a foreign country, as one that you've never been to. You don't know exactly how things are, how things work, because let me tell you, everything's different, right down to the electric outlets.
Yeah, I will say I didn't bring a raincoat with me, so I had to buy one while I was over there because it rained a lot.
How do you go to that area knowing that's all it does is rain there?
It was supposed to be nicer while we were there. I bought a bunch of sweaters. I didn't bring a raincoat. I couldn't fit it in my suitcase, so I bought a raincoat while I was over there. And the zipper, like you know how they drive on the other side of the road over there,
everything's backwards.
Yeah, the zipper is backwards. I couldn't for the life of me get the zipper to zip for the first full day that I had this jacket. It was driving me nuts.
Yeah, I was once when I was in Europe, I did the same thing. Even I was in Mexico once. I bought a pair of swimming trunks and they didn't feel right. I'm like, it's like, I don't know what they do differently, but it's not right. Yeah, weird. But glad you had a great time. Glad you got to bring back some stories. Did you not that I think that there's any Scottish in my ancestry, but did you see the Coyle name anywhere?
I did not. I can't say that I did. I did.
We're Irish. We're more Northwestern Irish, Northwestern Irish.
Yeah.
Probably did not get along with those Scots back in the day. But just curious. But,
of course.
Awesome, man. That's one I've not been. I've been to Europe, but unfortunately, I've not. I want to go to Ireland.
There you go. Yeah.
Maybe one day Indiana's football program will get good enough to where they are the team that's, I mean, why not? They sent Northwestern, for gosh sakes, to play
Nebraska.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
So, if Kurt Signetti gets this thing this fire lit.
Yeah.
Indiana, USC, in Ireland. Hey,
Wouldn't that be a blast? We'd have some fun.
That'd be something. That'd be something.
Yeah.
Being out away from getting caught back up on everything that's going on in the sports world, of course, here in Indiana, the Major League game, Major League All-Star game, rather, I should say, has come and gone. The American League now winning 10 out of the last. What the hell? When I was a kid, the National League was on this streak, but it seems like for the last 1,000 years, the American League has just been on streak after streak. And at some point you're like, okay, this can't just be those things usually even out just because it's professional and it just counters back and forth. But this is an anomaly it's very odd. First of all, because this is probably the only all-star game that is actually being competed, where they're actually competing, I think. The pitchers are throwing, they're not lobbing softballs in there. The guys at the plate, they're trying to hit the hell out of the ball. So this is probably the only all-star game that is truly competed. I'm not familiar with the NHL game, but I don't know if that has something to do with it, but it's just the fact that one league has dominated this is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I mean, my entire life, essentially, since I started watching baseball, that was like late 90s, early 2000s, the American League has dominated the All-Star game. I don't know why it is. It just is something that seems like it's a fact of nature at this point. And you're right, because it's not like the American League dominates the World Series. That hasn't been the case. So I don't know why that is. And for a long time, it was even weirder because the National League had 16 teams and the American League only had 14. And so it was like, well, the National League has a bigger pool to pull from. Why is the American League dominating this thing? But yeah, it's just a really odd kind of historical coincidence here. And the American League won again. And of course, Shohei Ohtani hit a home run, which was pleasing for all involved. And it was fun to watch.
The Major League Baseball draft has come and gone. The
That's
Big
right.
Ten with an impact is 27 players from the league get drafted. 6 of those from Indiana. That led the Big Ten. Brody Breck from Iowa was the top pick, but at 38 headed to the Colorado Rockies. And then Indiana, 1, 2, 3. The 99th pick, Luke Sinnard going to the Braves with that one. And then you had Nick Mitchell, an outfielder. That was the 4th round as well, the 136th pick to Toronto. Carter Matheson in the 5th round to the Phillies. Then you drop down to Griffin Tobias to the Brewers at the 275th pick. Let's see. I know that Connor Foley went. That's Brock Tibbetts. There's Cooper Malamazian to the Brewers at the 515th pick in the 17th round. When you get down there, it's like, all right, what are you going to do? Where's Foley? I know Connor Foley got picked.
He might have been earlier. He might have been like the 5th
there
round.
It is. Yeah, 5th round, 164th pick to the Arizona Diamondbacks. Now, guys like that can come back.
Yes.
They're not done. And being picked in the 7th round, I'm thinking that's an incentive to come back and try to go up higher.
Yeah, Braden Reisdorf, the reliever, was picked in the 20th round by the Cubs. He's up from my way, East Noble, Kendallville. He was in the 20th round. He has 2 years of eligibility left. I would kind of expect him to go back, quite frankly, just because he struggled. Like, he was a freshman All-American in 2023. He struggled pretty badly this year. Obviously, getting drafted is getting drafted. You're gonna have to think about it, but I think he can do better than he did in 2024 and get drafted higher next year. So there's still a decent chance that he goes back. And so I think we're going to see some stay or go decisions in the next couple of weeks here, because remember, the deadline is, I believe, August 1st. So we have a couple of weeks now before these guys have to sign or come back to college. So, I mean, even Carter Matheson could theoretically come back. He has another year of eligibility. I don't think he will. That's probably high enough for him to go on and become a professional, but he could if he wanted to. Another impact for Indiana is that Brayton Thomas, the pitcher from Bishop Dwenger, who is committed to Indiana, was expected to be a very early round draft pick. He was not drafted at all. So very, very likely he goes to IU now. Like that, there were projections that had him in the top 3 rounds. He was not drafted at all, which suggests that I don't have any actual reporting on this, but it suggests that he told some teams, hey, if I get below X round, I'm going to IU. Don't bother picking me. And so so it's very likely at this point that he goes to IU, which is great for IU. Like he dominated on the mound for Bishop Dwenger this year. He's considered a likely early round draft pick at some point. And so IU will have him very likely have him in their pitching rotation next season.
And one of the things that looking down the list of Big Ten draftees that quickly jumps out is Ohio State. I see them one time. At Michigan, I don't know that I saw them at all on this list, and I don't. Yeah. And that's a little surprising. You've got Tracy Smith up there and not one pick to the Major League draft. And Michigan is one of the only other teams in recent memory that has made it to the College World Series out of the Big Ten. Iowa, however, had several. They probably had 5. Yes, exactly. No. Now, see, I count 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So Indiana didn't lead; they tied to lead then with Iowa for 6. So that was
still
the headline I saw. It's
yeah,
it still counts. There you go. They do lead. I guess, and technically they do.
But they're co-leader. They're co-leader. Mackenzie Mbako was the freshman of the year last year.
There you go. But that shows you why Iowa and Indiana are the 2 best teams of the Big Ten right now. And what you just mentioned, along with several of these guys, probably will be coming back to play college baseball. I didn't mention Henry Brummel, also selected as the last pick from the Big Ten, a couple behind Braden Reisdorf to the Brewers. But so he probably comes back, I would think, unless he's out of eligibility. So Indiana could have a very strong team next year. This year they made it to the NCAA tournament. Who knows? Next year, World Series?
Got to get the pitching going. That was the biggest problem this year, was that they just weren't able to consistently find guys who could get outs. Quite like that sounds really, really simple. Pitching, you get outs, like that's what you do. But they couldn't do it on a consistent basis this year. Their offense was really, really good, and they weren't able to back it up with the pitching necessary to win. We saw that in the NCAA tournament, especially that game against Southern Miss, when it was basically over before the offense even had a chance to bat. And so it's one of those things where if they can fix that, they have a chance to not only win a Big Ten title, but go on and make a run in the NCAA tournament. But that is an uphill climb because they were really, really rough this last year.
What's next for you, brother?
I am back in town now. Obviously, next week I will be at Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing Curt Cignetti on the podium for the first time. That should be a lot of fun. So,
absolutely, busy week coming up. Dylan Sinn, Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette, joining us as always. Appreciate you, my friend.
Absolutely, Jim. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. We've got more coming up, brought to you by the Rusty Gator down in Bedford whenever you're in the area, where oceanic flavors meet Southern charm, nestled right in the heart of Bedford. Their seafood restaurant is a haven for those who crave the freshest catches of the sea in a laid-back and inviting atmosphere. Stop in and visit with them, and they have live music each weekend as well. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
All right. Speaking of music, guess whose reunion tour starts today? Creed. Creed is back, baby. Kicking things off in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And I'll be seeing them on August 2nd in Cincinnati at the Riverbend Music Center with 3 Doors Down and Finger 11. Don't be afraid to like Creed, guys. It's cool to like Creed again. If it ever was in the first place, which maybe for some of you was never. Bryant's is very sticky at Riverbend. Yeah, I've been to a few summer shows at Riverbend. It's a cool venue. It's fun. And some of you may not know, they're tearing that place down and putting something new there, I think, at the end of this year. So Riverbend is in its final season, I believe. Herbal, you're going to the Cincinnati show. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that'll be. I'm excited. Hopefully, it's someone mentioned sticky. Hopefully, it's a. Hopefully, the weather turns out nice. Someone says Riverbend is no Deer Creek. My wife actually just went to a show at Deer Creek this past weekend. She went and saw Niall Horan with her sister. I've never been to a show at Deer Creek, fun fact, but I've seen it looks like a nice venue. And I know it's not actually called Deer Creek anymore. It's just what it's always been colloquially known as. Someone says a new place going to have AC. I don't know. It looks, there's renderings of it, it looks really nice. But it's still going to be an outdoor venue. So, I mean, AC, I guess you can only get so much AC when you're outdoors, but, All right. 20 seconds, Jimbo. Kyle's not on here yet, but I'm sure he'll be on here shortly.
House plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Rebesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Hope everything is going well for you as we have made it through halfway through the week here on Hump Day on this Wednesday. Kyle Neddenriep, Rick Bozich will join us later. Spoke with Charlie Miller earlier and Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette in our first hour. And looking forward to talking to Rick. Lots going on. We just talked about the in Major League Baseball draft and the All-Star game. And earlier we talked about the national anthem around with that. Purdue-Auburn has signed a deal to play. We'll talk about that later as well. Kyle Neddenriep joins us. Kyle, how are you, sir?
Good. How you doing, Jim?
Cannot complain. Your Tigers are always going to be fortunate because they have the Chicago White Sox in their division. Our friend Rick Bozich, who joins us next, he's a White Sox diehard.
Scuba should have been starting the All-Star game last night, but hey, what are you going to do? He pitched a second inning. 1, 2, 3.
They should have listened to you.
I mean, he's got better numbers than everybody in the AL, but hey, you got to be over 500, I guess, probably to get that kind of nod. But anyway,
yeah. Well, that's kind of like the College Football Hall of Fame. I talked the other day. I talked about the fact that Mike Leach has a winning percentage of 59.6. So technically, he's not eligible for the College Football Hall of Fame, as is Howard Schnellenberger, also not, because he started up the FAU program and it really destroyed his record. But he also basically started Miami. He didn't start them, but he took them from being a dumpster fire to a national championship winning program. did very similar things at Louisville. He's not eligible for the Hall of Fame. So, yeah, it's weird how that stuff breaks or works out sometimes. But
yeah, that seems kind of like a meaningless number, because every coach, their situation's different. So, I don't know that obviously you expect the guys who get in the Hall of Fame to have a better winning percentage, but like you said, I mean, if you're at Florida Atlantic or a program that's trying to build, you're gonna take on more losses. So yeah, that's kind of a weird thing to have in place. I did see that, but yeah, doesn't really make sense.
Over the weekend, currently the Peach Jam going on, like EYBL Peach Jam, but last weekend and last week we had the Adidas 3SSB tournament go on and complete itself. Indiana Elite, one of the top teams in the country all year long. They were undefeated through 3SSB play, lose in the championship game to a Utah team that knocked them out last year. But first of all, a great run because they beat some great teams along the way, some great players. Koa Pete, they beat the Compton team to get to the championship game that had Koa Pete and Gilbert Arena's son, amongst others on it. But their run comes to an end, one win short.
Yeah, they started off the week kind of rough, and then got it going, like you said, and then got to that championship game. So always cool to see an Indiana team be able to make it that far, and the games. Obviously, the kids are trying to win, and that's always good to see. And kind of the bigger stories that come out of it are the recruiting situations, obviously, and Braylon Mullins certainly top front and center of all that from an in-state perspective. So, just interesting. I had talked with his dad a little bit this week, and I know they're trying to get things settled and set with what they're going to do visit-wise and who they're going to try to, knock out of there or it didn't talk specifics on, any of that necessarily other than who they're going to visit. So that's that's sort of the number one story right now, I'd say, from an in-state perspective, along with obviously Jalen Harrelson, Trent Sisley, guys we talked about for years, it seems like. But Mullins has certainly risen to the top of that group.
Yeah, his offers coming from North Carolina, UConn, Kansas, Indiana, Purdue jumped in there pretty late. I don't think that Purdue is actually going to be a player for him, partly because they jumped in so late, shockingly late, to be honest with you. Why is it, do you think, that they were so late to the Braylon Mullins parade?
I mean, they were recruiting him. They just they were in kind of when everyone else was back, and not when everyone else. I mean, there was a pretty small group actually back, when probably last fall, relatively small. Notre Dame, Purdue, IU, Cincinnati, some others, but just couldn't, because of numbers and things like that, as far as what they had available at that time, they don't just make tons of offers anymore, so at least if you don't have that available, or that class is you have to go class by class and see what you got. And also they had Trent Sisley, had been in on him for a while, had offered him for a while. So I think that was part of it too. So that's sort of educated guess, I would say. I don't know exactly. I mean, obviously they want to evaluate more, and there was a lot of teams that didn't offer him, that have now, pretty much a whole country now. So yeah, it's become a national recruitment rather than a regional recruitment.
And with the announcement that Trent Sisley will be headed to Montverde, I should say, and the season that Braylon has had off season, he's got to be the favorite for Mr. Basketball going in. I know there are other players, but he's got to be now kind of the favorite for Mr. Basketball next year.
Yeah, and what a three-headed race that would be if they all, were still playing high-state schools. I mean, that'd be something else, because I don't even know who out of those three, I don't know who all three of them would have a pretty good case, I would say. And we don't know how Harrelson's year would have gone last year with Fishers, but I think we could imagine it would have been really good. So, it would have been awesome to see that. It still will be. I mean, that this class is so good that there's still guys who, I think will have depends how Mullins' season goes. If there's, and God forbid there's some sort of injury or something, obviously that changes it. But I don't think there's any question. If you're at the Charlie Hughes at all, or saw some of that, or I mean, he was the best player, most impressive player there. By a pretty good margin, I would say. I mean, he was kind of, it's always interesting to me, like who has the buzz, who has the buzz of the fans, kind of the chatter of the state. And it was clearly at that point, Braylon Mullins had it and performed really well. I would say too, lived up to it. So that doesn't always happen either. Flory had that for a while, it's just, so that's always kind of fun to see that. But yeah, I mean, there'll be other guys like Xavier Robinson from LN, if they go out and win state and he has a good year, he's got the resume that's excellent, so, Brady Kaler from Cathedral is I think going to be a guy who's got a chance to play in the NBA someday. Do those guys have the juice? Do they have the team success? Can they beat out Mullins? I don't know that for a fact, but there's a long list of guys in that class who I think will put themselves at least in the mix, and we can talk about as the year goes along. And then Braylon's putting up 30-something points every night in, night out, then we can forget much conversation about it. But it kind of depends on that. And then, they haven't won a sectional in a long, long time. I think it's 1998, if I remember right, or 99. So, they may, that would certainly help his case. It's not a do or die situation, I don't think, of winning a sectional, but because that is a really good sectional. They've got a lot of good teams in there. Anderson, New Pal actually dropped down to 3A, but still Mount Vernon's in there. So they got some good teams to go up against. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I kind of, I wish we had that three-man race that could be really fun, but it just didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah, and my other fear is for all of us fans of seeing these guys is first of all, this is going to impact the Kentucky Indiana All-Star game for Indiana, at least. Look at the players they're not going to have that they would have had going into that game.
Yeah, it does. And again, those are the people want to see those guys play. I mean, that's sort of the fun of it is seeing those guys play in that game. I don't know, it's still special. It's still, will be great. I mean, I know people kind of jump all over it every year. They don't pay attention. And then, when it's time for the game to come, everybody bashes the heck out of it. Not everybody, but a lot of people do. To me, it's still a cool event. And I think with the players who play in it, for the most part, I mean, it's not 100%, but I think it's meaningful to them, and to be able to put that jersey up and in your school, it certainly means a lot to the school, I think. And that shows, they put it up outside their trophy case or in their hallway there when you go in the gym. And I always enjoy looking at those and remembering who those people were, so those things are really cool. And then from the game itself, I want to say, this Kentucky team this year, the 24 class, was a really good class. I can't remember. I think the 25 may be a little bit down from that, but don't hold me to that. That's just kind of, I remember talking to the Kentucky director, and I think that's what he kind of had mentioned, that next year is going to be tough, but then they had another good class coming. So, but yeah, so I think this class, it's deep enough where it's still going to be tough to get to 13, I think, or they've talked about even making it 12. So I think those 12 or 13 are going to be really, really good players. And this will be a tough class to cut it down to that. Whereas last year, I think it was a little bit more, how do we, not necessarily how do you fill it out, but those last 4, 5, 6 spots were sort of, you just didn't know, even going into the season there, who those surefire all-stars were going to be.
Yeah, and you talk about Mr. Basketball. It will certainly make it easier to pick, you're going to think. But we talked about this a minute ago, what a three-headed race that could have been. do we start losing one day? Is there potentially that the best player of the state is not Mr. Basketball because they're playing at either La Lumiere or IMG or Montverde or wherever the case may be?
Yeah, I mean, that's probably happened already. I mean, to I think it will continue to happen. I mean, I don't think every time it's going to be like, even the Sicily thing. I don't know. In the past, probably 5 to 10 years ago, that would have been a total shock. And I think, and it still sort of was. I mean, although I think, I know I'd heard about it a couple weeks before, the possibility of it and that sort of thing. So maybe that kind of diminished the shock value of it. But like when Ashlyn Shade, the Noblesville girl, a couple of years ago went to La Lumiere, that was a stunner because we hadn't really seen that on the girls' side. But on the boys' side, we've seen it a little bit more. And I think, like I said, I think we will continue to see it happen. And I think, Devontae Smith-Rivera in 2012, I think, he would have been, that was a great class too, with Gary Harris and Yogi Ferrell were at the top of that one. But Devontae might have been the front runner at the end of the 2010-11 season, going into it. He'd already won a state title. He went to Georgetown to play. People knew who he was, probably more than Gary and Yogi to a certain extent. Now, I don't know how that would have came out, but he might have been the best, candidate going into that season. So you just never know how things work out. Obviously, Gary and Yogi had great careers and still are, but it's just kind of kind of one of those things where that's going to kind of be the case moving forward. And look at like, there's a team down there your way at Jeffersonville, Trey Singleton, who, I think he may put his name in the mix for it. Just, he's got all kinds of offers now and their team's going to be really good. So he's got some juice. You talk about Mullins having some juice to him. I think Singleton's got that now, and I wouldn't have thought that even back in March.
Yeah, he's picked up several offers I've seen. DePaul, Butler, amongst others. I think maybe Central Michigan or something. But Butler and DePaul.
Oh, he's got Purdue. He's got. I mean, he's got.
Oh, I did not see Purdue.
He's got a number. Notre Dame. I mean, it's gone to a whole nother level completely from what it was. It was more mid-major. I saw Butler was there at the top 100, and they maybe had 3 coaches there watching him, and I kind of thought, that was going to be the case where he would get an offer, and then it eventually came. But yeah, I mean, he's added, Butler, DePaul, Clemson, Louisville, Wake Forest, Xavier,
wow.
Purdue, Notre Dame. I mean, it's gone to a whole nother level for him. So he may be a guy. When we talk about Mr. Basketball, I don't see why he wouldn't be one of those 3, 4, 5 guys who are right in the mix for it.
Well, especially because he's going to be on a team that is possibly the favorite to win a state championship at the highest level in this state.
Absolutely. And that'll mean a lot. I saw some posts about that and them being number 1. And obviously that's, they're hoping for that and playing like that. I don't think you can forget about Fishers, though. I think people are kind of forgetting, a little bit about Fishers. They've got plenty coming back, even though they lose Keenan Garner. They're the defending state champs for a reason, and there's a couple guards who started at freshman for them as freshmen who are going to be sophomores who are really good. And then John Anthony Hall had 23 in the state championship game, so I wouldn't totally count them out either. And anybody who comes out of that, they've got a tough sectional to come out of. Noblesville again is going to be good, So, but yeah, it's cool to see. I'm glad. Yeah, I always am glad to see, especially in 4A where you have some teams outside of Central Indiana that are powers. And right now, Jeffersonville, at least for this upcoming season, I don't know what the future holds, or what they have coming up, but they're definitely in that, in that category right now.
Absolutely. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star. Make sure you're giving him a follow and keeping up with all the content that covers the entire state, buddy. We appreciate you.
You bet. Thanks, Jim. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Kyle Neddenriep from the Indy Star, brought to you by Boost Fundraising. No team or a group needing a fundraiser. No one raises more money faster and with a more unique and user-friendly online fundraiser than Boost Fundraising. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member, free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all for sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Just go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COIL to receive a discounted fundraiser. Back with Rick Bozich from WDRB.com right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Formerly.
Good morning, Rick.
Good morning. This is the end of the line, huh?
End of the line this Friday, at least as far as this goes.
What are you going to be doing?
I'm not. I don't want to really speak on here because I will be working for a competitor of Jim's. But yeah, that's the short end of it.
You can text me.
Yeah.
Just tell him. Good God.
If you don't care, I'm just trying to be considerate. I mean, I'll be working with Alec Lasley and Kyler Staley. I'll be doing my own show for their site.
Gotcha.
It just feels weird because I don't want to promote it on somebody else's show.
What site is that?
HoosierIllustrated.com.
Okay.
They started it up themselves a couple of years ago, or might have been last year.
Gotcha. What do they cover? Football and basketball and everything else?
Yeah, I think they cover pretty much everything. And they're underneath the umbrella.
You going to TBT? Either of you guys going to TBT?
I will not be at TBT, no.
Have there been any kind of stories about how many tickets they've sold?
You know what? That's a good question. I have not seen or heard of that.
A friend of mine told me he was going to go Friday night, and then he got on the website and lower bowl tickets for $40, and he said, "I'm not paying that much money."
Wow.
Is Louisville still the leader? I know they were at one point.
Well, they might be the leader this year. Wichita's the all-time leader.
I mean, for this year, though.
Yeah, I think Louisville is this year.
For tickets sold?
I think so.
That's
somebody told me yesterday the lower bowl at Freedom Hall's either sold out or almost sold out.
How much were those tickets?
I don't know. Last year they were 30. I haven't checked.
Man, you would think Hinkle would be less.
I heard they're $10 for the afternoon session, but the night session that has Purdue and Butler and Purdue and Indiana, they're $40.
Chase Briscoe will be racing in Bloomington that night as well.
They're $13.50 general admission in Lexington. I don't know.
All right, here we go, guys.
Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right. 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Wednesday. Joined now by our good friend Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. In the break, we were talking about ticket sales for the upcoming TBT tournament, the basketball tournament that happens starting this Friday. And Rick, Louisville apparently leading the way in tickets sold, which I was a little surprised, but then I thought, well, they haven't had much else to watch basketball-wise, so they might as well buy tickets for that, right?
Yeah, I think the answer is that they did it last year, and people are more in tune to doing it, and they've done a really good job of having both the Louisville players and the Bellarmine players out promoting it, and that's who plays the first game on Saturday, so people kind of want to see that game.
Yeah, I'm looking at we were talking about ticket prices. I'm looking at the ticket now. There's You've got ticket pricings that goes from $5 up and then quickly through the tens and up to $75.
Now, is this at Hinkle or Freedom Hall?
Yeah, this is at Hinkle. Now those $75 are a piece
on
now
on the bench.
But that's basically. It looks to be pretty damn close to that. But you can get a $5 or $10 ticket in there, and there's no way there are bad tickets at Hinkle. Just the way it's set up, it's
the $5 or $10 tickets though might be for the afternoon session, or is that for the IU? There's an afternoon session that doesn't include Indiana and Purdue on Friday. Then there's 2 games in the afternoon and 2 games on Friday night. And Purdue, I think Indiana, I don't know. Indiana plays at 8, I think. Purdue either plays.
Oh, there you go. You are correct, sir. That was the early session. As these come back around, it starts at 30. Actually, it looks like the ones that are close in are sold out. And then you go to the corners on the first level, and they're still in the 30. They stay at $30. And then they go up to 40. Then they go up to 40. Okay. In that, those are the corners of the first level,
right?
But I mean, it's $20 a game basically is what you're getting. So I don't know if that's,
it all depends on how much what you like to do and how much money you have. If it's 2 people, that's 80, and parking and something to eat, you're going to drop $100 to go watch it.
But it does look like there are ample tickets available.
I'm sure there will be. I mean, it takes a while for this thing to sort of, get in the bloodstream of everybody and know what it is and why it's important and whether it's fun or not. And then if people have a good experience the first night, the word of mouth spreads. And I would think the second, if they play Friday, so that would mean if Indiana and Purdue win, they'd play each other on Sunday. I would think you'd get a little bit better crowd on a Sunday. And it goes from there.
And then they play it goes through Tuesday. So they've got it spread out. You've got the Saturday off. Now, the bad thing is Sunday. Well, it's Sunday evening, so it's not that's a great double. You can go to the NASCAR race and the TBT game that evening.
There you go.
In Indianapolis. And
what time are you picking me up?
And they're right by each other, Rick. You've got the Indianapolis Motor Speedway there on the northwest side, and Hinkle is just kind of northwest of downtown, I guess you'd say, or north of downtown.
Yeah, I'm not precise in Indianapolis geography, but the Speedway's on 10th Street, right?
Crawfordsville Road.
Right.
Thereabouts.
I think Hinkle's up closer to 38th Street, so it's a few miles away.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to walk it.
No,
right now, but it could be done easily. But speaking of which, tons going on in Indianapolis this weekend. You've got the TBT that starts Friday night. Chase Briscoe will be in Bloomington racing. The NASCAR driver from Mitchell, Indiana, will come down to Bloomington to run on the dirt in Bloomington before heading back to Indianapolis to run in the Brickyard 400 as they return to the Oval at Indianapolis on Sunday. You've got the Xfinity race on Saturday as well at IMS. So a lot going on this weekend in Indy as usual, Rick.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment in Indianapolis. It won't be long. You'll have Colts back in action, and
football media days for the Big Ten follows next week, starting Tuesday.
Right. What day is Indiana? Thursday?
They are Thursday.
Right. With there's a couple new Big Ten newbies in there with them in there, Oregon and somebody else maybe.
I think Oregon and possibly USC on Thursday.
We can go introduce ourselves to Dan Lanning.
Exactly, and say, are you going to be here next year?
Well, next year I would think you would play Oregon.
Well, not Dan Lanning. My bad. I was thinking of Lincoln Riley. I apologize.
Indiana got UCLA and Washington this year, so I would imagine next year they'll get Oregon and USC. So they got a break. They better take advantage of it this year because Oregon and USC are the better teams.
Absolutely. Thursday, we'll have Indiana up first with head coach Kurt Cignetti, Justin Ellison, Aiden Fisher, and Mike Kadick along with them as their players. Maryland, Michigan, new head coach Sharon Moore will be appearing. PJ Fleck from Minnesota, Dan Lanning of Oregon, new Washington coach Jed Fish, who moved up from Arizona, will be there. So new coach, and new coach. So
Sharon
3 out of
Moore,
6 new coaches.
Sharon Moore was a former Charlie Strong, either assistant coach or graduate assistant at Louisville.
Yeah, how'd that go for him?
It went well. That's when Charlie Strong was here and did really well. I don't think he went with him to Texas. I think he just when he was here, he was an assistant. And
I wonder why, because that was a big jump at when Charlie Strong left to go to Texas.
Yeah, I don't even know what Charlie's doing anymore. He was with Nick Saban last year, but now that Saban's out of the game, he's obviously not. But I'm probably going to come up on Thursday. What time is Cignetti talk? Do you know that?
He would be, according to this, now he's listed as first. I don't know that they go in alphabetical order, but I think that they do.
Okay.
And I think that he'll be up first.
So like 10 o'clock or something?
Yeah, no later than that, I would not imagine. Let's see. Each day will include all 6 schools, the program's head coaches, and 3 of the student athletes. There will be live coverage of the media. Starts at 11 Eastern. So with it spread out, maybe they're not starting quite as early as they have been in the past, which is nice.
And those are 2 James Madison guys, and then Kadich is a 5th-year guy, right? So
yeah, he's an offensive lineman. And Indiana, man, I feel like I'm drinking the Kool-Aid on Indiana football, Rick. Partly, I look at the schedule and I'm like, okay. And I know what Indiana is doing. I don't think that's the one thing. I know that most people look at Indiana and say, well, it's Indiana, which I understand. That's understandable. But I don't think a lot of people realize is, yeah, they have not brought in a ton of these big name transfers from as far as coming from these big schools, but the guys that they're getting, even if they're coming from James Madison or wherever, very highly rated by Pro Football Focus. Indiana's receiving core is by that metrics the best in the Big Ten right now. Their secondary is one of the best in the Big Ten right now. You've got a solid, experienced quarterback in Curtis Rourke and a solid backup. Their running backs room is highly rated. How their offensive line definitely improved. I'm not going to say it's highly rated, but it's definitely improved under Bob Bostat. And since he's the only guy that Kurt Cignetti kept, that says a lot to me. And they landed those three out of the top 10 defensive transfers per Pro Football Focus. So there's just so much positive. It's hard not to be positive about this potential season for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. They've done nearly everything well, it seems like. They've got a plan. That's the first and most important thing. It seems like they have a certain way they want to attack things. And their plan is we'd rather take guys who are moving up from a lower level FBS school or even from an FCS school who have proven producers at that level and see what they can do at the Big Ten. Then previously, what Tom Allen did, he took a lot of guys who were from other Power 5 schools who weren't successful there. And there was that Miles Jackson kid from UCLA. He came in, didn't do much. There was the linebacker Casey from Louisville that came in. He didn't do much. Now, there were a few guys that hit. They had a number of transfers that did okay, but they had a lot of guys, I think, who they had higher recruiting rankings and didn't pan out at their first school, and they took them. And that's not what Cignetti's going to do. As he said in his opening press conference, he doesn't worry about that stuff. He goes by what he believes. And another reason I think people are on board is They do have 8 home games, that's the most you can have. That's a big advantage. They took Louisville off the schedule and scheduled a win against Western Illinois. That's another advantage they have. And in addition to what we see on the field, you see signs that the administration is taking football more seriously by being out there talking about the changes they're making to the game day experience to try and get more people excited about football and get people in the stadium to create an atmosphere, which I think is critical. I mean, one, financially, they need people to come to the games for the money, and B, it's critical if you're trying to get recruits to come in the future to bring them into a stadium where there's 45 to 50,000 people, as opposed to often there being 25,000 people, I think would make a difference.
Absolutely, because Indiana is still, even though they're making these moves to the stadium, there's still so much that has to be done.
Yeah,
to bring it up to a modern Big Ten standards. They're one of the last to not have a skyboxes, a full length of the stadium. The press box. We call it a press box, but actually the press is probably the least used of those large things. It's sweet.
It's the same. I mean, that press box is the original press box from the stadium. I mean, it hasn't been renovated or upgraded in hardly any way since when? The early 60s, when that place was opened? I mean,
yeah.
I mean, you've been in it. I mean, do you see any signs that they've done anything in that? And that's not, I'm not complaining about it. I'm just saying that the people who are responsible for the state of the program were the athletic directors and the administrators in the 1980s, the 1990s, and the early 2000s, when other schools were more proactive and more aggressive and figured it out that football and only football is what counted more than anything else, and said it's time for Indiana to quit looking at football as an afterthought. They were asleep at the switch, and now they're so far behind that this is what they can do now, but they definitely need to have a 5 or a 10-year plan of saying, okay, here's what has to happen in the next 5 years, and putting in seating and making the game day experience something that will attract fans has to be high on the list. Because if you only are counting on people to come to games because you're going to win, that's a bad strategy. You have to get people to come. I want to go down there because I had a good time. I want to go down there because I saw my friends. I want to go down there because I saw the fireworks, or I like the band, or I like the way the players ran on the field, or whatever. You've got to get more of those kind of people in the facility.
Yeah, and once you do, and you add winning to that, that is the magic formula. And sure. I think Indiana's on that path. Of course, they have not taken a
just
snap
so late.
Kurt Signetti.
I mean, everybody else is 50 yards down the field, Jim.
The cost is going to be substantially higher because of their late.
Yeah, and you play the long game. I mean, you got to get kids to come to games and say, "Dad, take me back. I like going there. That was fun. Can we do it again?" And then they do it, and then when they get older, they enjoyed it and say, I want to have football season tickets, and take their kids. I mean, that you got to create a fan base. I mean, we joke about it. It's changed quite a bit and gotten better, but we're not that far removed from when the scouting report in Indiana was great tailgate, pretty good crowd for the first quarter, decent crowd for the second quarter. Where did everybody go at halftime? Right?
Absolutely, especially because the students usually make up a bulk of those that are in attendance, and they traditionally leave at halftime.
Right, but they've done. I'll give them credit. I really believe under Scott Dolson and Fred Glass, they've done a better job of getting more students to come to the games. The student section has been larger and more invested in the team, and I think the student section, if you give them just a sniff of a successful program, they will turn out. That's what I think.
I agree, because when you start winning, it's fun. Winning is fun for everybody.
Yeah, it is.
And it carries over, and then you start having a little bit of pride. And then you're like, hey, we've got a shot at beating Michigan or whomever a bigger name opponent is. You add TV to that. Yes.
Washington.
Exactly.
If you could beat Washington this year, Washington was in the national championship game last year. I mean, I don't care that they lost all their players and their coaches. It's still Washington. If you can beat Washington, that's a card you can play in recruiting, and you can get people excited about your program.
I didn't even think of it that way. I knew that they're sitting here, they're playing Washington as one of those high market value teams, but I didn't even think about it from that standpoint. And that is, you are right. It's just another, and if they could, what happens if they beat Nebraska the week before that on top of it? Now you've added 2 blue chip wins to your season, including one over, like you said, that played in the national championship game last year.
If you win those 2, you're going to a bowl game, because there's enough other winnable games on your schedule that you're going to go to a bowl game. And then, who knows? If you go to a bowl game and actually win the bowl game for the first time in 30 years, now you're really getting some buzz going. So there's plenty of opportunity with this team. As there is with any coach, there's a honeymoon period. People are buying into what they're thinking. But I think in this case, I think that it's more, it's a little safer believing, because this guy has won in other places as a head coach. He's said what he's going to do, and he's done that so far. So now let's just see what he does on the field. And I think he'll be good at media day. He knows the message he wants to communicate when he's in front of a microphone.
Yeah, and it's not been all of this rah-rah stuff being sent out on videos. None of that. None of this. Anything. It's just business. It's been straight business, and that, along with the fact of his staff has been with him for so long, his success ratio of what he's done previously. He has a plan. That plan has worked. They're putting that plan to work at Indiana, and I'm not saying that they're going to go out and win a Big Ten, but I think that why can't Indiana be competitive? Look at Kansas. Kansas went from being just like Indiana to not, like overnight almost.
Yeah, they did. I mean, Minnesota used to be bad. PJ Flex made Minnesota bad. I can remember a long time ago when Wisconsin wasn't any good, and Barry Alvarez came in and changed that. There's no reason that really Wisconsin should be better than Indiana in football. They don't have some great high school recruiting base up there in Wisconsin. Not at all. But what they do have, is they had a commitment by the athletic department that they needed to be good in football, and they hired a guy there and gave him the materials to win. So we've talked about this before. I mean, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State are on a different level. But realistically, if you look at, there's no reason Indiana shouldn't be able to be on the same level as the other, if you're talking about the traditional Big Ten schools, all of the rest of them. They just haven't. They've never made a commitment. It's never been a priority. It really hasn't been. They've paid lip service to it. They've talked about it. They've hired coaches, but in terms of the total investment in the program, hadn't been there.
Rick Bozich, WDOB.com with us. We'll be back with more, brought to you by our friends down in Sellersburg from Reynolds Family Dentistry. If you're down in that area, stop by, see Dr. J, keep that championship smile going. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market, did you enjoy the All-Star game?
I watched a little bit of it. I don't like the uniforms, so it turns me off.
Why did they ever? I just saw someone asking all the other day, why did they ever switch from the wearing their own team's uniforms? That was the most unique thing. I thought it was cool as heck.
I think the reason they switched is because they thought they could sell gear, all-star uniforms, and that's the reason they switched. Now a bunch of the players have come out against it, including Bryce Harper, and fans have never liked it, traditional fans. So I thought I read last night that the belief is they're going back to regular uniforms next year.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
Stuff. Put an all-star patch on it. See if you can sell an extra Reds jersey with a patch on it or something.
It was all about selling merchandise, man. That's all it is. That's why, like, every month they have one promotion a month where every team wears a different hat. And then they have those City Connect uniforms, which some of them are okay, but some of them, they look like slow pitch softball uniforms. And it's all about, they do. It's all about selling merchandise. Don't get me started.
Reminds me of the old Pittsburgh, man. Those Pittsburgh uniforms, those were bad though. The old box, the old circle hat.
Oh yeah. We Are Family.
That looks like that was just hot.
Willie Stargell. It was hot when they played on the AstroTurf.
probably polyester uniforms.
Yeah, this will be one of the toughest nights of the sports year. There ain't nothing. What is there? WNBA maybe?
I believe tomorrow, Thursday, is one of there's 2 days in the entire calendar year where there are 0 sports, and I believe tomorrow is one of them. I don't know what the other one is. It must be coming up to the second one.
Wow.
Christmas Isn't that crazy
Eve?
Though?
Christmas Eve, the other one?
Do they not have NBA games on Christmas Eve? No, they have bowl games. They have bowl games on Christmas
I was going to
Eve.
say, got to have bowl games, man. They got bowl games running out the yin-yang during that time.
I don't even know what the other one would be. It might just be another summer date, to be honest. I don't know what it would be.
Probably yeah.
I might have to read a book or something tonight.
All right, here we go, guys.
Chop Shop for high-quality meats, bakery items, and now fresh seafood. Chop Shop Market and Table has the largest selection of in-house made products around and everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is Wednesday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined by the great Rick Bozich. And we just made it through. Rick, I was talking about earlier with Dylan Sinn, the All-Star game, the American League on another run. They've won 10 out of the last 11. Why is that? That's not realistic as far as the World Series. It doesn't make sense.
I don't think there is an explanation other than just luck or fate or whatever. There have been multiple long winning streaks in the All-Star series through the years. I can remember a time when, Rose and Bench and Mike Schmidt and all those dudes were around the National League where they dominated for a long time. Then the American League had a stretch several years later where they won a bunch in a row, and now we're back to American League dominance. I can't explain it. I mean, it's just the way it's worked out.
Yeah, crazy, but it is what it is. I don't know that it really matters. But the one thing I said, I think that All-Star game is the only one that's truly competed. Now, I don't watch the NHL, but they actually compete in this All-Star game. They're trying to win.
Yeah, they do. It's probably the best of all the All-Star games, subtract the uniforms. But they do try, and more guys get to play and actually contribute. They try and work every pitcher in there. And it's, the basketball game is a joke. It didn't used to be, but it is a joke now. It's almost to the point where I think they've had some discussions about not playing it anymore. The football game has been taken away, isn't it? Don't they have some kind of flag football game now?
Flag football thing now?
As opposed to the old Pro Bowl where they used to entice people with trips to Hawaii. Now they make so much money and the risk of injury is such and they play so many games, they don't even do it. I don't watch the NHL one. I'd imagine that one's fairly competitive because those dudes are super competitive people. But yeah, the baseball game is the most realistic of all of them.
Yeah, it is fun coming up. Let's see, this weekend I mentioned also that NASCAR will be in Indianapolis. Chase Briscoe from Mitchell, Indiana, has raced for Tony Stewart, and now Tony Stewart is getting out of the sport, selling off. But he'll be in Bloomington racing on the dirt in Bloomington Friday night, which is cool. And then returning to Indianapolis to run in the NASCAR at the Brickyard.
I don't know much about the speed. Where's the speedway in Bloomington?
Man, it's on the south side. If you're coming in from the south off the 37, you would get off at one of the non-Bloomington exits, like on Old 37.
Okay.
And you just go up Old 37, and you would turn
like Walnut Street. You go that exit, that Walnut Street.
Yes. And you would just take that into the first light and turn right, and Speedway's down a mile or so on the left. been there for quite a while. I mean, guys like Jeff Gordon have raced there. Tony Stewart has raced there. Of course, Kinzer, Steve Kinzer, the king of midgets and sprints, raced there forever. But yeah, a lot of history there at that track. And Chase Briscoe he's been there before, I'm pretty certain. But adding to that is it's a big deal when a guy like that comes to a small town track like that.
Yeah. So it'll be a huge crowd, I imagine.
I would think so. They usually draw pretty well anyway because they're not racing every weekend. Right. And the fact that you're drawing Chase Briscoe, I don't know how much they've advertised that, but it seems to spread within itself. They do a good job of spreading that information out. But with the TBT coming this weekend, you're going to be busy watching out for what's going on at Hinkle and Butler, watching what's going on down in Louisville and over in Lexington. There's just a lot of TBT action this weekend, man.
Yeah, I'm sure Friday night I'll be watching. I want to see, how Yogi Ferrell looks, how Juwan Morgan looks, how many shots Devontae Green jacks up. I'm trying to think of Troy Williams, right? Miller Kopp's not going to be there.
What happened to Miller?
He's not going to join the team for the first game because he's playing in the NBA Summer League. So they picked up Noah Vonleh. Lexington team plays in Rupp, I think, the same night. And they've got the Harrison twins and Willie Cauley-Stein and, some other good players. And then Saturday at 1, I'll be out at Freedom Hall. Louisville plays Bellarmine. Louisville's got, they got Montrezl Harrell, former NBA Sixth Man of the Year, 8-year pro, who's trying to make his way back from ACL surgery. They got David Johnson, who was a second-round pick of the Raptors a few years ago. I got Russ Smith and Peyton Siva. I got a good team. So we'll see what they can do. And if they win on Saturday, they play Monday. And they win Monday, I think they play Wednesday. And I think theoretically it's set up that the Louisville and Lexington winners would play each other in the quarterfinals for a trip to Philadelphia.
Who is Miller Kopp playing for in the Summer League?
I think he's on Oklahoma City. I think. I'd check it out. Just Google Miller Kopp. I'm almost sure that he announced that he wouldn't be there for the first game because he's in the Summer League. I think he's
an opportunity for him. As he won a G League championship last year. So looking forward to that. So other than the TBT, what's going on in your world right now?
SEC Media Days is going on down in Dallas. So we've been following that to see what Greg Sankey's saying about conference expansion. Next week is ACC and Big Ten Media Day. So there'll be a lot of ACC talk about whether Louisville can repeat the kind of season they have last year. There's the IU element for the Big Ten. And those are the two main things. Recruiting, there's always talk about recruiting and Peach Jam and who's Louisville going to be able to get and why was Mike Woodson at this game and why wasn't he at this game and the stuff that we read if you follow the message boards every day.
Absolutely. And looking forward, I was, the summer's usually a little break for everybody, but that hasn't happened this year. Oddly, it's just been one thing after another nonstop, which is good. But there are no breaks. Which
I'll tell you a remarkable thing I looked at, and I'm pretty sure this is right. IU sent out a release yesterday, counting at least one, maybe two signees. They had 9 guys taken in the Major League Baseball draft, which I think is 1 or 2 more than
9.
Kentucky. I think it was 9, which is 1 or 2 more than Kentucky had. And Kentucky went to the College World Series, which I thought was pretty interesting.
Yeah, they had a lot of guys. We were talking about that earlier. And but fortunately, a lot of those, hopefully for Indiana, will come back because they were taken pretty late. And if they have eligibility, it depends on the situation. Sometimes getting drafted is worth just going. But there's the guys like Connor Foley who has eligibility left, who may want to increase his selection and be higher next year as a pitcher.
What did he go, like third or fourth round to the Diamondbacks?
Yeah, see, I had that pulled up, and I'm not sure what I did with that.
The big one I saw, there's like some high school infielder they had who's a recruit who got drafted, but he didn't go real high. I don't know if he's going to sign or not, but that was the one that really caught my attention.
Yeah, but a lot of pitchers, they've got to – that's the thing that Indiana has to bring back next year to have success, though. You got to have that pitching, man. Otherwise, they could be in store for another good season and hopefully go further than they did and just making the tournament like they did this past year.
I haven't looked ahead to next year's draft yet, but I would think that Devin Taylor would be a fairly high pick. He might be –
I would imagine
one of the higher picks they've had in a while. I mean,
yeah,
not like Schwarber, but, up there.
And Schwarber's still performing, man. Every time I turn on a game for the Phillies, it seems like luckily he's at the plate or whatever. But yeah, he is still getting it done.
I mean, he was on that Cubs team that won the World Series, but that was the season he missed most of the year. I think he wants to do it again with Bryce Harper and the boys. The Phillies are probably the favorite right now to win it all. So we'll see if he can get that done. He's fun to watch. He doesn't get cheated in any of his at-bats.
Wasn't it last year that they kind of basically got upset? Yeah, it was last year. They got upset by the Diamondbacks. Was it Arizona that knocked them off in the playoffs?
Yeah, I don't remember. Diamondbacks, I think they did knock them off in the NLCS. There's so many rounds of playoffs now, I can't remember them all. But yeah, they did get upset. The Braves got upset, and the Phillies got upset.
And then you've got my Reds, who every day it seems like there's another highlight, but yet they're still. It's like you look at the standings, it's like, damn, they're 9 games back, 10 games back, whatever the case is. But it's amazing to see that young talent they have in Eli De La Cruz and Reese Hines, but they're not making a lot of hay with it yet.
The Reds kind of showed who they were. They swept the Yankees, and then they got swept by the Tigers, which kind of is they showed how good they can be, and then they showed how frustrating they can be by just doing that. They're ahead of the Cubs, but I'm looking right now at the wild card standings. They're only 3 games out of a wild card spot, but they got to pass 4 teams to get there. So we'll see. Got to play. We'll find out. The MLB trading deadline is less than 2 weeks away, and the Reds will have to tip their hand before then and find out if they're going to add pieces to try and get better or whether they're going to not do that and kind of put things on hold for another year.
Yeah, and the back half of the season always brings surprises. After the All-Star break, teams that may have been on runs, it kind of gets derailed. Injuries come along. Things change after the All-Star break.
For sure. Some teams get healthier because they've got pitchers who've missed a good part of the year. I know that Diamondbacks have at least 2 pitchers coming back from injuries. The Dodgers have 3 or 4 guys who might come back. They're still waiting to see what's going to happen with Kershaw and Walker Buehler. Their pitching staff has been decimated. So, yeah, the next 2 weeks is the big clue to the rest of the baseball season because you have to add – for a player to be eligible on the postseason roster, you have to add him before August the 1st. So if you're going to make a move and you think you have a chance to win the World Series, now is the time to do it. So the next couple weeks of the baseball season are very telling, even for the White Sox, who just added one of your former Cincinnati Red Stars, or going to add him to salvage their season, Nick Senzel.
Popular name, well known by Reds fans all over. Here's a key.
He was the number 2 overall pick in the draft one year.
Yeah, so was I. Not really. Here's a unique stat of every division in baseball, all 6 divisions. The last 2 teams in each division are upside down in the run differential, with one exception. The Cincinnati Reds, who are plus 38, and yet they're mired back in 8 games back of the Brewers in one of the weakest divisions in baseball. Always the central of both leagues are usually kind of down, but that's just an oddity of, I guess that just shows a feast or famine team.
I don't know if it shows that when they win big, or when they lose by close scores, what it is, but I don't know. I hear I've talked to a number of Reds fans, and we've gotten to the point where they're grumbling about David Bell and think they need to get a new manager. And David Bell managed here 1 year for the Bats, and I personality-wise, I never did see what the attraction was to him, but I guess there's more to personality than managing a major league team. He doesn't give off the signal of having a bunch of energy, is what I would say.
I hear that, brother. Well, I appreciate your energy, and glad to have you as always. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com, brought to you by the Ugly Grouper down on Anna Maria Island, Florida, the place to be, whether you're already in the area or will be visiting them. Go see them. Big thanks to Charlie Miller, Dylan Sinn, Kyle Neddenriep, and again to Rick Bozich for joining us on the program today. Most importantly, thanks to each and every one of you. John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.